All right, we're back. We're live. Well, live. So what's up? What's everybody doing this week? Anything interesting? Anything new?
What's everybody?
Let's see. First to check in, pole position. All right, we're back. Okay, so let's see. Joey, there ain't a whole lot up here. It's, normal day. So let's see. You're getting ready to go racing, Joey. Craig needs to get a banner printed in the mirror image for backdrop. Yeah, I'm just waiting for Craig to show up so we can get our show started. Ooh, you're having a baby tomorrow. Congratulations, Sean. How's that? That should be interesting.
I'm just waiting for Craig to show up.
So...
Oh, you're having a baby tomorrow. Congratulations, Sean.
That's pretty cool.
That should be interesting.
Hey, Neil, how's it going? It's Monday. We're live. We're here in the mob. Last week was interesting. This week's interesting. I don't know. We'll find out when we get there. Let's see. Hold on. I gotta do one thing. This week's interesting. As per Craig's request, when I screen record it, so people watching it on YouTube, so the comments aren't covering Craig. That's what he requested. So let's see. Craig's not out there yet. Man. You taking the Nova to Texas Radio Roundup. So Muscle Car Roundup, or Muscle Car Challenge, what are you expecting to run, Joey? Low sixes? Low sevens? That sounds interesting. So, let's see. Neil, you had questions about cooling these cars. Outside of saying put an aluminum radiator in it, I don't have a whole lot of specific, what to get, what to put in it. I've got an eBay special in my car that was nothing special. I think it was like $129 shipped. And we'll get into that a little bit more when Craig shows up here. You can buy the expensive Be Cool ones. You can buy fairly cheap ones off of eBay. Like I says, I bought, it was like only like $130, $130 shipped. And it was a 3-row aluminum. They do have some 4-row aluminums I see, and then they have stuff that has, some other, they got fans with them and a shroud, and we'll kind of talk about that stuff when we get into it. Like I said, Craig isn't here yet. So, let's see, I'm typing in. I have an interesting trivia deal for tonight. We'll see if Craig agrees with it or not.
I'm typing in. I have an interesting trivia deal for tonight. We'll see if Craig agrees with it or not.
It's very interesting. Some of you may be old enough to know this item. So nothing's happening here, Michael. Just a normal Monday in the mob, waiting for Craig to show up. Normally he's here by now. I don't know what's going on. why he's not here yet. He's, I don't know why.
Waiting for Craig to show up. Normally he's here by now. I don't know what's going on.
Now, let's see. Important number of fins per inch is important. In the 80s, racing dirt, we ran Mopar radiators due to them having more fins per inch. Didn't have all the aftermarket radiators back. No, you didn't have all the aftermarket radiators back then that you do now. Yeah, keeping them cool is, with aluminum now, they don't have to be as critical on those fins. The aluminum is very good at heat transfer, works really well at transferring the heat out, so they work pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I work on that they've got a ton of fins in them, and there's some stuff that I work on that doesn't have a whole lot of fins. Just depends. So, okay, well.
And there's some stuff that I work on that doesn't have a whole lot.
Oh, let's see. I see Bill Whitby is out there. Don Allen, Mike Oatman, Jeff Knudsen. I see a lot of you guys out there. Joey will probably be going the low fives in the 8th mile, Chad. So, boy. Well, I think I'm just going to start plugging away, and when Craig shows up, well, we'll add him in. So, the aluminum radiators, the biggest thing you got to remember between brass and aluminum is aluminum will transfer heat better than aluminum. Therefore, that's why you see a lot of the newer stuff with 2-core instead of 3-core or 4-core. So when you're running these newer, aluminum radiators in our cars, you don't necessarily have to have as big of a core in them to get the cooling ability. In these older cars with the, hey Lincoln, in these older cars with the aluminum radiators, you don't have to have so many core radiator as you used to. I know my car had a 3-core in it before, and it does have a 3-core in it now, but it's a 3-core aluminum. And I do not run a thermostat in it, whether I'm driving it on the street or running it at the track, because I'm just running water in it, and I'm not really terribly worried. Well, Craig, good. Your other account's in jail. Oh, no, and I can't add Craig in. Oh, wait a minute.
Well, Craig, good.
Looks like Craig is able to be added. Is he going to show up? Aha! Craig,
I'm stuck in snowy traffic at the moment, and stuck in snowy traffic, and my other account was locked up in jail today, so here I am. But we did it.
Yeah, well, I thought your other account was supposed to stay out of jail.
It was. I did absolutely nothing wrong. Crossed my heart. The good man up above knows I did nothing wrong. They simply were talking about having a parade for a certain individual, and I said, let's do it, and not in so many words, so here I am. But I got stuck on my way home, but I got stuck in traffic because it's so slippery out.
Oh, slippery. Well, hey, burnout lube.
Right? Oh, where's David Bacon when I need him? I could do one.
Well, hey, that's all right.
I see Dan Stacy's watching. I haven't even had a chance to call him back, so I'll have to call him back later. So go ahead with what you're doing, dude. The banner looks good.
Yeah. Hey, it looks good in the background there.
It does.
So, you don't necessarily have to have as big a core radiators nowadays with the aluminum, because aluminum transfers the heat a lot better. Now, if you have aluminum heads along with the aluminum radiator, that does help transfer heat. Is as well, or better. It helps cool. The aluminum runs cooler, therefore that's why you can get away with more compression on aluminum heads, and cheap, crappy pump gas. These aluminum radiators, like I says, I have an eBay 3-core. Like I says, I bought the thing for like $120, $130. Got it here, put it in the car, and I don't run a thermostat in it for the simple fact that I have a Moroso electric drive water pump on it, and it's running constantly at a certain set RPM. It doesn't go faster or slower with RPM like everybody else's. So I need that water constantly flowing. With your newer stuff where you've got, or with the stuff that's on your cars, usually they have, the RPM will change and you'll get more water flow or less water flow depending on how fast you're running. So and usually without a thermostat, it sits there about 140 to 160 depending on, where I'm at. The one time that I did really drive it, for quite a while, if I was at a slow down to a stop, it would start to creep the temperature, but then as I got going, it would cool back down, no problem. So that's, the air flowing through, and that was on like a 90-degree August day. So with that being said, cooling these cars, yes, you want to cool them, but it's not as big of a deal as it used to be. Now, as far as Neil West was wanting to know, fans. The biggest thing fans you got to remember is you got to put a relay in. And a switch is a good idea as well. A relay just has heavier wiring to run the fans, so that way you don't burn up the wiring in the car. It runs off of more of a dedicated hot wire, like your battery cable or whatnot. So relay is a good thing to have. Now, then Neil West was asking about coolant. Depending on if you have aluminum heads or aluminum radiator, then you need to get a coolant that is designed for those aluminum heads or aluminum radiator, because there's protectants in that alumina or in that coolant to protect the aluminum and keep it from corroding and going bad.
Is that the Dex Cool stuff, Dan?
Yeah, that would be an okay solution in your aluminum radiators and aluminum headed vehicles. That Dex Cool would be a good item to use. As far as temperatures, an LS I really am not experienced with. I know, like my truck, going down the road, it's usually sits around 200 to, 200, 205. I don't know. What's the temperature in your truck right now?
My truck is running 210.
Okay. So the LSs, they like to run hotter than, a small block. Now, in our 55s, if you want to keep the thing down around 180, put 180 thermostat in it, but you're probably going to have to reprogram the computer to recognize that it's not having a problem, but that it's running with a 180-degree thermostat in it. Those are probably things that you want to check into and make sure that you know. Lincoln, I use the electric Moroso water pump drive on mine. Works pretty good in mine. Again, as far as, what's the appropriate temperatures, myself personally, I don't run a thermostat, but if I were to be running a thermostat in my small block, it would probably be 180 thermostat, just for the, trying to keep it cool.
I've got the 180 in mine. I tried the 160 for me. It did not, because I used to have the overheating issues. The 160 did nothing. The temperature was still the same as when it was 190. I tried the 190. It didn't really do much for me, so it seemed like the 180 was the best for overall before, but now I'm, not having the heating problems that I was.
Yeah, 180 is usually a pretty good well-rounded temperature to use and run. You know, and it's not a bad temperature to try and to sit at. Now the trinary switches, you know, those are your okay. You're talking the trinary switches. Trinary switches on the AC system. Those are in line. They sense the pressure on your AC system. I believe it's on the pressure side.
Yep.
To sense the pressure.
The primary switch will turn your fans on when your
Right.
AC's goes on, correct?
Right. That's supposed to. There's a couple different functions of that trinary switch. There's a line from your AC control. There's a wire that comes out that will go to the trinary switch, and it will go to your relay. That it will click on. I'm trying to remember because I did this. Well, no, I think what it is it goes from the switch to the trinary, and then from the trinary to the relay to kick the fans on. But that trinary is there, and I think it also bridges off and goes over to the AC pump. The trinary is what, if there's something to do with the pressures in there, and that it won't trigger the system, and it checks for pressure, makes sure that the thing has enough pressure.
The way I understood the trinary, because I didn't put the trinary switch on in my AC Vintage Air. I sold it to, I think I gave it to Matt Murray, because basically from what they told me is, if you say you start your car and you haven't been running, right? So it's not up to temperature to run the fans. So you turn your air conditioning on right away. It would automatically turn your fans on right away. And I chose not to do that, use a trinary, because I wouldn't be running the air conditioning just sitting idling. It'd be basically for when I'm already getting going and driving, so I didn't put the trinary switch in.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, let's see, Mike Oatman kind of gave me a little bit of better information there. The trinary senses a compressor pressure, and it'll turn the fans on. So it does help trigger the cooling system trigger the fans for the AC.
Yep.
And then it's kind of like a ground of sorts, grounding the system. So now let's see. Boy, John Havens has a really loaded question here. He says a topic for some time would be big block install and what headers to use. Well, I can't really tell you what headers to use in big block install. It's a matter of getting the right mounts and getting the mounts in the right places, to hold the engine in spot. And as far as headers go, the thing you got to remember is the headers are aftermarket headers. They've been designed to work on the car, but they may not exactly work on your car. You may have to do some, dents and dings or reorganizing of tubes to make them fit how you want. The first set of Hooker headers that I had, when I ordered them, I says, hey, are these going to work for a stick shift car? Oh, yeah, they work. They work for a stick shift. I says, okay, I won't have to do any modification of the tubes or moving my clutch linkage, making it work or nothing. No, you won't have to do none of that. Well, lo and behold, I had to move the clutch linkage, move the bell crank backwards on the block and backwards on the frame to make it work with the Hooker headers. And I had spent like $300 some on the Hooker competition headers. Didn't work. So, just keep that in mind when you're
$300 hookers. What was that?
$300 Hooker headers.
Oh, headers. Okay, you lost me. I traffic noise.
Yeah, well, I'm cutting in and out there, I'm sure. No. And Lincoln Roy was asking about electrical harness changes. I can tell you, if you're doing a new wiring harness and you're going to change the routing or where and how the wires run, that's a matter of, using your own knowledge about safely moving the wires to where you want them, and taping them down and keeping them held in place, or running them so they're safe. And there are plenty of wiring kits out there. Danchuck offers some, American Auto Wire. Everybody, I found, and I think this is pretty much a generic deal that I found, that Southwest Performance Parts has a 21 circuit hot rod, rat rod, custom universal wiring kit that I'm sure if you want to string the wires and figure out what goes where, that's probably an okay deal. And then there's Vintage Auto Garage. They have what is supposed to be a 5 and 6 classic wire, classic update, so probably some modern wires and better quality wires in it. And then likewise, Jake's has one for like $557, and I don't know if it's necessarily, the same thing as what Vintage Auto has, but it's still $500 and some odd dollars. But when you look at those $500 units, you are getting, your forward harness, your tail harness, your fuse box, everything, even up to the dope scoop wiring. So, those are okay. Where I was looking at the Southwest Performance Parts, that may not have, your dome light switches or your dome light wires or, all that stuff. So you may have to get that stuff figured out, separately. And if you look, there's one other one, Summit has a painless performance, so it's still a universal setup. It's a 28 circuit, but it's like $379. So, and it's all in how you want to go about it and what you want entailed in the system. And these universal ones, they may not have your forward harness for out underneath the hood for, your lights and everything. You may have to kind of figure some of that stuff out in the system or in the wiring harness that they've sent, which a lot of the stuff that we do is, we don't necessarily do it back to factory original. We use aftermarket parts, try and make it work however we can. So you gotta, if you're going to use one of those universal kits, just keep that in mind, that you're going to have to use a little ingenuity and figure out where to run them, how to run them, and what you're going to do, what you plan on doing. So, let's see here. Peter Batagos, I'm sorry if I butchered your name. It's Batagios.
Batallos.
Huh?
Batallos.
Batatios?
I don't know.
Okay.
If you just mumble through it works.
Okay. So this is going to be a question that, since I've seen Craig posting on his normal Facebook page, this is going to be a question for Craig here. Peter wants to know about women. So you've been making some pretty good posts here recently. So
I have.
What's the knowledge today?
Well, I'm going to tell you what. As I've noticed on my own personal page, with some are and some aren't on there, I realize that no matter what you are politically, some people just are tired of hearing about political stuff. So I've gotten rid of that. I'm about working out and trying to fight the obesity thing. I've gotten a lot of hate mail because everybody who's overweight is emailing me like I'm talking to them seriously when I'm just making a post. So I thought it would be good with my 24 years of knowledge with my wife to start spreading some of my spousal, tips for marriage. I think I did marriage tip number 7, which was a little recap for people that didn't read it. It said, people number 7, yeah, it said, as a spouse, it is not your job to point out when they do something wrong, but it's your responsibility to remind them of it for the next 20 years. And I think that any guy knows that's freaking true, because we've all been persecuted 10 or 15 years later for something that we already done. So I'm kind of working on number 8 right now, and it basically comes down to, I'm not going to give it away, but when somebody asks, like your wife asked, does this make my ass look fat? It's basically a really good time to imitate a deaf person and just walk away. It's really not, it's a no-win situation, I want to talk about women. Women go with cars. And this is all, I'll go back to the part of the Tri-5 mob beginnings for me. The mob means getting together with a bunch of guys that are like-minded about cars, learning from each other. And my wife's bringing out the garbage right now, so I got to be quiet. Shh. I'm a little scared of her. Okay, so now she's gone. About guys coming together, and I remember when I was growing up, guys that had the garages had all the girls on the pictures and the walls and stuff, and so that is what it about. And so the first time I went to the gym was to get better looking arms for the beach, right, for the girls. Why do we want a cool car? Our initial thought was before speed. I don't care what anybody says. It's not, going fast, putting the pedal down. But it was, for me, it was cruising on Friday and Saturday nights, because we go down to the hockey arena, you turn around, it was 1.5 miles back down to the other end of town, and you cruised all night with the arm hanging out the window, looking good for the girls, trying to get a girl, to ride in your car or your truck or whatever it was, and that's where it all starts. I get in the Chevy, and I go to a neighboring town here or whatever, get to the Chevy, and I roll up to the stoplight, and you got the arm sitting just like this, and you look over, and I'll be like, bitch, you ain't even looking at the car? And I'll start honking the horn. I'm like, what's wrong with kids today? But that's what it's about. But also, it's really creepy now that I'm almost 50, and you got the shiny red 55, and we all love our Tri-5s. It's the best thing in the world. And you roll up to a stoplight, and the only one that looks at you is the 65-year-old lady.
Yeah.
That's creepy. But we do this all for the women. Let's face it. That's what it is. And the first time, there's 2 things that got my wife. I just had a truck with a stick when I met her. 302, 5-speed Ford pickup. I know it's Ford, but that's what it was. 2 things. Dropping the clutch out, doing a David Bacon burnout, sitting it back in the seat. She thought that was fun. And then when I would accidentally drop a pencil on the floor, I go, oh, can you grab that pencil? And the minute she went down to pick it up, I'd slam on the brakes or hit the dash and have a little fun. Oh, it's all fun. We do everything in cars for women. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So who knows? But that's my women thing tonight. So I think if we give any marriage advice about cars, lie. Simple. It's one word. Just lie. How much was that? I don't know. Did you just buy a new cart for your car? I don't know. Is that a new intake you put on there? I don't think so. Why is your car loaded? Did you get cutouts? No. Exhaust is getting bad. Probably need new exhaust next year. See? It's easy. It's really easy.
But we shouldn't be telling everybody to lie.
Look at this crap out here, Dan. And they put more salt down on the damn roads.
Yeah. If they would just plow the roads, they wouldn't have to.
I had that. I got to do that every time I come home. And then it's snowing, so I'm going to bring my flag in. So
yeah, you don't want to road stuff.
I got to do it. So I don't want to cut it short tonight because you're doing a good job. I've been gone about 8 hours, and I'm starving, and my wife's already looking out the window. So I know I kind of failed on tonight, but it was an odd day for me. So
yeah. Well, I'm gonna do today's trivia, and I think I'm gonna cut out. So, what year was the did Robbie Robot first appear, and in what show?
That's easy. But you guys have a good night.
All right. I'm going to head
Later,
out.
bud.
You guys have a good night, and we'll catch you in a week. So, thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. We'll hope to see you next week. Anybody going to answer? I'm waiting before I close it out. Okay. It is Tri-5 related, just a hint for you guys. All right. Good night.